Your real life hasn't started yet. So what if things aren't going the way you want right now? Soon, things will change. The education you've gotten, the job you're doing right now, they're not part of your real life. You'll start a new job, or maybe even your own business, after you've saved up some more money. You'll start new hobbies, later, when you have more time. You'll start working out. There'll be more time for that later too, right? After all, your real life still hasn't started. In the future, you'll definitely do things differently and be like a whole new person. You'll start your real life in a few weeks. Okay, a few months. Actually, make that next year. Next year. Oh, this is it, isn't it? This is your real life. I'm pretty sure everyone has found themselves thinking this way whenever they decide they want to do something that could be life-changing. It could be something like starting a new exercise routine, writing a book, learning a skill, or a cool new hobby. What all these things have in common is that they're far enough outside our comfort zone that we have to change who we are as a person in the process of doing them. And despite how scary that can seem, it's actually pretty easy to commit to doing all of these things later, after we've done something else to prepare for them first. The example of this that I always think of is when someone wants to start a new hobby, but they won't do it until they've got the absolute best possible equipment to do it with. It could be someone who refuses to do any exercise at all until they've got a tricked out home gym to do it in. It could be someone who has to own the fanciest, most expensive possible guitar before they'll start learning to play. And it could be someone who won't do anything creative involving a computer until they own the best computer that possibly can exist in the world. I can just picture someone saying that because the newest graphics cards are all out of stock, that justifies them doing nothing until they can get one. Another thing that we'll do is tell ourselves that we just don't have the time and energy to do these things right now, but we will in the future. Why will we have more time and energy in the future exactly? Well, that's never actually explained, because it's all just a false justification for not doing things that are uncomfortable. This preparation phase of life doesn't actually end, it just keeps being extended. The reason we think like this is that it's much easier to imagine yourself doing something in the future than in the present. It's as though we believe that our future selves are going to be much different to our present selves without us having to go through the struggle of becoming that person. This is backed up by MRI scans, which show that when somebody tries to predict how they'll behave in the future, the same parts of their brain light up as when they're thinking about a different person entirely. So when you plan to do something later, it's the same as thinking that somebody else is going to do it for you. It's as though you've got this friend who's a lot like you, except they're good at everything, and they're going to do all the work, but you will get all the rewards. When that doesn't happen, the world ends up full of gym memberships that never get used, musical instruments that never get played, cameras that never take a photograph or record a video, and ideas that never get off the ground. All because people tell themselves that it isn't you who has to do these things, it's future you who can do all of this stuff no problem. As for how you are going to become future you, well, that part is left unexplained. What you actually need is a way to bridge the gap between you as you are right now and this hyper-competent future version of you who can do everything with no hesitation. The best way to start this process is to start doing the things you want to do right now to whatever extent is possible at this moment. So let's say somebody wants to be a great artist. So instead of waiting until they've got the ideal studio with all the best paints, they should start sketching on a scrap of paper if they have to. Likewise, if you want to start talking about something online in a podcast or on YouTube, then it's a lot better to get started with a cheap microphone or a phone than do nothing until you can afford a sound studio or an expensive cinema camera. The same thing applies to exercise. You can run in old trainers outside or do bodyweight exercises on the floor if you can't get to a gym. We should also be using whatever time we have available right now. You might not be able to dedicate entire days to doing some new hobby or learning some new skill very often, but you can probably find half an hour. which is way better than nothing, especially if you do that consistently. Focusing on doing the best you can right now is also a great way to prevent the stress that can arise when you have these really ambitious goals that you know you're a long way off from accomplishing. When you know you're doing the best you can with your present circumstances, you feel more in control, and all the things that are outside of your control stop occupying your mind so much, so you're more able to relax and enjoy what it is you're doing. Another great thing about actually starting something is that you'll naturally start to gain knowledge about how to improve what you're doing. There's a lot of things that we learn once experience starts pointing us in the right direction that we're not even aware of at all before we get started. Someone who puts off getting started has a massive delay in starting to gain that experience, and there's lots of stuff you can only learn that way. A good example of this is writing, which is something you mostly get better at just by doing it more. So if you wait until you've built the ultimate comfy woodland cabin to write in, and then taken a full year off to go write in it, you're going to be at a massive disadvantage to someone who starts writing in an imperfect way, but has the time to build up that knowledge through experience because they're just doing it for longer. Practice and experience matters for everything, and there's going to be a huge advantage by just starting earlier. The combination of getting started right away and steadily building that knowledge through experience over time will create a sense of progress and a constant stream of small psychological wins that make you much more likely to start more things in the future. Eventually, you'll notice that whenever there's some cool new thing you want to do, and you picture yourself doing it, the future version of yourself, who you imagine doing this thing easily, is actually the exact same person you've already become. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, then click like. If you want to see more like it, then click subscribe and the bell. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.